When a mother was found dead inside her own home, the crime scene pointed to something terrifying. Not a family argument, not a sudden, emotional breakdown, a professional hit. The daughter immediately confessed. The weapon was still inside the house. No signs of forced entry. Every early piece of evidence pointed directly at her case closed. At least, that's what detectives thought. Because once investigators pulled phone data, hidden recordings, and deleted messages, the entire story changed. What they uncovered wasn't just murder, it was years of psychological conditioning. A father secretly convincing his own child that killing her mother was the only way out. And the deeper detectives dug, the more disturbing his methods became. The 911 call came in early that morning. The man's voice sounded strangely calm. "My daughter shot my wife," he told dispatchers in the background. The daughter could barely speak by the time officers arrived. The scene already felt wrong. The father was standing outside waiting for them. Not panicked, not emotional, waiting inside the house. Detectives found the daughter sitting motionless near the hallway. She looked completely disconnected, and before investigators even finished securing the scene, she confessed again. No hesitation. At first glance, evidence lined up perfectly. The weapon was recovered inside the home. No forced entry. No signs of an outside intruder. Everything pointed toward a tragic domestic killing, but one detail kept bothering detectives. The father never once asked if his wife was alive, not once, and every time the daughter answered questions, she looked toward him first, like she needed approval. That detail changed the entire investigation at the station. Detectives separated the daughter from her father immediately. Inside the interrogation room, she repeated the confession again, but something felt off. Whenever investigators asked why she did it, her answers sounded rehearsed. She was hurting us. She controlled everything. We couldn't live like that anymore. The wording didn't sound emotional, it sounded memorized. Then detectives noticed something even stranger whenever they asked her to explain specific moments from that night. She struggled, but whenever she repeated things her father supposedly told her, the answers came instantly, word for word. One detective later described it as listening to someone repeat lines. They'd practiced too many times, and suddenly investigators stopped asking, "Did she do it?" Now they were asking, who convinced her this was necessary? Detectives pulled data from the daughter's phone, expecting emotional messages or family arguments instead. They uncovered months of conversations with her father. Not angry. Conversations, careful ones, controlled, strategic. He constantly repeated the same themes. "Your mother is dangerous. She wants us miserable. She's destroying this family." At first, the messages almost sounded protective. Then, investigators noticed the pattern. Every disagreement became proof the mother was abusive. Every punishment became control. Every argument became evidence they were trapped together, and slowly detectives realized this wasn't random manipulation. It was conditioning. The father wasn't simply complaining about his wife, he was reshaping his daughter's reality. And the deeper detectives looked, the worse it became. Investigators recovered journals written by the daughter. Page after page described fear, isolation, and hopelessness. But detectives noticed something chilling almost. Immediately, the language barely sounded like a teenager. It sounded like an adult speaking through her. "She's ruining our lives. We need freedom. There's no other way out." The same phrases repeated over and over, exactly like the father's text messages. Then investigators found references to what the daughter called training, talks, late-night conversations, private recordings, hypothetical scenarios. According to detectives, the father allegedly spent months preparing her, psychologically, not by threatening her, by convincing her she was trapped He framed everything as survival, not anger, not revenge, survival, and that's when detectives realized they might not be dealing with a traditional murder case at all. They believed they were looking at extreme parental grooming, but proving psychological coercion in court is incredibly difficult. They needed direct evidence, something undeniable eventually. They found it. Buried inside old phone backups were audio clips. Investigators almost ignored most sounded harmless. Background television, random conversations, household noise, until forensic analysts isolated faint whispers hidden inside one recording at first. Nobody could clearly understand the words years earlier. The audio quality had been considered unusable. But after the case reopened in 2026, analysts used advanced AI, voice reconstruction, to enhance the recordings. What they uncovered changed the investigation instantly. The whispers matched the father's voice, and according to investigators, the instructions were unmistakable. Calm, specific, direct, not panic. Coaching detectives now believed the father hadn't simply manipulated the situation emotionally. They believed he orchestrated the crime itself. And once they confronted him with the recordings, everything changed. When detectives brought the father back in for questioning, he initially looked completely relaxed, confident, like someone convinced the investigation was already over. He spoke calmly, answered carefully, never appeared emotional. Then detectives played the recordings. The room went silent. For the first time, investigators noticed his expression crack. Just slightly, eh? Paused, his breathing changed. His eyes dropped toward the table. Detectives pushed harder. Why was your voice on the recording? No answer. Why was your daughter repeating your exact language? Silence. Then detectives confronted him with everything at once. The journals, the text messages, the timelines, the audio enhancement results, and suddenly the calm father, who made the 911 call, no longer looked like a grieving husband. He looked like someone losing control of the story. Investigators later said that interrogation changed the entire case because for the first time, they believed they could prove manipulation beyond reasonable doubt. Prosecutors argued the father spent years emotionally isolating his daughter until she genuinely believed killing her mother was the only escape. The defense tried to frame it as an independent act committed during emotional distress. But the digital evidence made that argument harder to defend, especially after forensic psychologists explained how repeated conditioning can alter a vulnerable minor's decision-making. Over time, the recordings became central to the trial. Not because they showed physical violence, because they showed psychological as control. Investigators later admitted that the hardest part wasn't finding evidence, it was explaining manipulation to a jury because coercion leaves almost no visible fingerprints, no masked intruder, no secret criminal organization, just years of emotional pressure slowly reshaping someone's reality. And according to prosecutors, that's exactly what happened inside that house. The final sentencing became nationally significant, not only because of the crime itself, but because the court formally recognized the daughter as both a participant and a victim of extreme parental grooming. That distinction changed how similar cases would later be investigated. Years later, reports showed the daughter entered long-term rehabilitation focused on trauma recovery and coercive control, according to later interviews. One realization haunted her more than anything else: the person she trusted most had spent years reshaping her understanding of reality, not through violence, through repetition. That's what disturbed investigators the most. The manipulation wasn't loud. It was patient, calculated, and almost invisible from the outside. Today, the case is still studied by behavioral analysts and law enforcement because it forced investigators to rethink how psychological coercion works inside families, not every manipulated victim looks afraid. Some truly believe. They're making their own choices, and by the time detectives uncovered what was really happening inside that home,